Hey, what's up everybody? So if you guys are interested in this video, hopefully you are, I highly recommend that you guys watch this video all the way through, as there's probably some things you might learn that you may not be aware of. So I'm gonna get on with this video and explain to you why come the beginning of next year to early spring, why me and my family and people we know are going to be switching over to satellite phones. So I'm gonna get on to this. This is obviously not my smartphone that I use all the time, because the one I'm using all the time is the one I'm recording with. This is my smartphone. I'll get into this in a minute. But some things you guys probably are not aware of. We all know that smartphones can be tracked. But there's some things you guys probably don't realize how the government is tracking you. They're loopholes. Because a lot of you are going to say they need a warrant. That's not true. How they can intercept your phone calls, listen in on them, so you have no privacy. Again, they do not need a warrant. There's loopholes. How they can get your text messages. Again, they don't need a warrant. There's no loop. They have loopholes. I'm not talking about stingrays, because by law they need a warrant. I'm not talking about them physically gaining access to your cell phone by you handing it to them willingly, or them showing you a warrant and them taking it physically, or you handing it over willingly. Not talking about that. And by all means, I am not talking about this video as in, for example, me and who I'm talking to in a criminal manner. I'm talking about my right to our privacy to one another when we talk. So I'm gonna get right on into this. So the fact is, you guys, smartphones today, we all know they're tracking devices. That's no secret. But there's a lot of you out there who say, oh, well, you can turn off this and that through settings. That's actually true, but are you really turning those off? The truth is, you're really not. And I'm going to get into that brief and short, right to the point. Inside the phones, there's built in, that no one talks about, iPhone, Android, doesn't matter what model, old, new, doesn't matter. It's built in, called ad tech. And what that is it's a software tool, and it's used to target digital advertising campaigns. Have you guys ever wondered why in your email, Gmails, I'm going to use Gmail for an example because that's the most commonly used one. I get it all the time. You get like little ads popping up. Let's say a clothing store, for example, a site you never shopped on, right? You all of a sudden get ads for that, and you never shop there. Well, that's ad tech. Okay, they're targeting you. Now, that's digital advertising. That's a digital advertising campaign. Now, in order to personalize advertising, the apps we're using on our mobile device is gathering a lot more data on us than we realize. And where we been that is tied to a unique ID number that's tagged everywhere we go, literally second by second to a geolocation. Don't matter if you're sitting at home, second by second, that ID tag is saving it. Okay? And this is all facts. And it's not easy to find this info. Now, the IDs are called mobile advertising identifiers. What they do is they allow companies to track people across internet and on apps. So it don't matter what app. If you're on YouTube, that's one of the biggest mobile advertising identifiers out there. That's collecting all your information. Now, they're supposed to be anonymous. So smartphone owners can reset them or disable them entirely. But the reality is, when the Supreme Court investigated it, their findings showed that these companies promise and their contracts that they signed up where they promised their customers that they could disable that, they found it was entirely not true. It was a lie. In fact, several companies offer tools to allow anybody with that data to match that ID to your smartphone with another database, and they can find out all your information, where you live, your email, your phone number, where they can take that ID with that database they're using, clone that ID to your real ID that's already planted inside your smartphone, and they can listen to your phone calls and read your text messages. Now, a lot of you are probably going to be like, "No, that's a conspiracy theory. That ain't true." Well, if you're still watching this video, it's a shitty video, I know, but if you want to think that way, that's fine. By all means. But I'm telling you, this is reality. Now, it's pretty much a tracking beacon nature of phones, where if you guys look up Carpenter versus United States 2018, okay, the government will generally need a warrant to access cell phone or cell site location information. Okay. but ad tech gathers GPS data from commercial tools, not locations from cell phone companies, and is considered marketing data. That data is openly available for sale. Now that is a fact. Look it up. Carpenter versus United States 2018 Supreme Court ruling. And among the buyers, believe it or not, is government agencies. It's a loophole. Government agencies buy that data, and now they track you legally without a warrant. They listen in on your phone calls. They know where you've been. Forget about them knowing where you've been. We all know they can track. They can read your text messages. They listen in on your calls. And I'm not even talking about if it's criminal. I'm talking about just your right to your privacy. That's unconstitutional. Now, there's a few of you that I've gave my number to, and that's where these come in. These right here, they're not even your normal phone. These are cheap phones from Walmart. These are track phones. Me and people I know, we're smart. We don't have our names registered on these. These are not associated with us or the state we live in or the zip code or anything. These were paid with cash. These were activated by cash at Walmart at different times. This one has a Washington, D.C. number. This one has an Elgin, Illinois number. Two different names. Harder to track. Tickle. So why are we going to start using satellite phones for privacy? Now, a lot of you are going to say satellite phones, they can still listen into this and that. Well, the truth is, with some companies, yeah, you might be right. But there are companies out there, like the one I purchased this from, it's totally encrypted. It's a company military is contracted with. Any of you out there, you don't have to be any type of law enforcement, military, security. You can buy from them. And I don't care if you're government, if you're law enforcement, and can't no one hear your conversation. This has encryption. 20,000 feet above you in orbit. 13 satellites. This sends a signal out simultaneously to 13 satellites in the sky. Why does it do that? It does that. Tickle. God damn it. Sorry, my dog. It sends a signal out to 13 satellites simultaneously, 20,000 feet in orbit. Bouncing signals from satellite to satellite, purposely to scramble and encrypt your conversation and ensure you always have signal and clear voice. And believe it or not, you guys, here's a fact too why we're switching to satellite phones is a lot of you probably are not aware of this. Maybe none of you are, I'm not sure. But you guys remember January 6th, and by no means am I saying anything bad about Donald Trump. I'm all for him. I'm voting for him. I'm putting that out there. But after January 6th, Congress, they were all issued satellite cell phones. Why were they issued satellite cell phones? 50 Congress men and women combined, 50 altogether. There were 100 of them were offered them, 50 accepted. Why were they offered them? You want to know why? This is information you're going to only find on a dark web. They were offered because some people there, I'm not going to mention the groups because I don't want to get tagged, were able to actually intercept their frequency on their cell phone outside that building and listen to who they were calling by simply using a ham radio. They somehow jailbroke it and was able to know who they were calling. So now they use satellite phones. Not this kind. They actually have ones that look identical to a smartphone that works like a smartphone, except it goes to a satellite. And those are actually about $3-4 grand. Now, satellite phones, you guys, are secure because they use a closed network communication. Using satellite phones is a lot more difficult for hackers to intercept, like on January 6th. Satellite phones are the #1 choice for government agencies because the communication is secret. They can't be hacked. And if they can, it's very hard to. They can only be hacked during that call. And even then, it's going to be extremely hard. And the company I'm going with is very affordable. The one I'm going with here is prepaid. Basically like your track phone right here. I pay so much on any plan. And believe it or not, whatever minutes I don't use, they roll over. So if I do a 90-day plan, if I don't use any minutes, I pay again in 90 days. Very cheap. I get double the minutes. And the third time, I keep the following 60 days minutes. If I switch plans to 6 months, I get the previous plan's minutes on top of that 6 months. If I do a year, I get those. So very affordable. So you got to ask yourselves, it's your choice. I wanted to throw this video out there. I thought it'd be important. Do you guys want Big Brother watching you and listening to every little conversation that's between you and only you and who you're talking to? Or do you want anyone listening to it? Until next time, you guys, like, share, subscribe.